Today at Speedy's Garage, we're going to be talking about a new tool that we're going to start using in some of our videos. Alright, so for the drone, this is what I ended up with. I went with the Mavic 2 Zoom after doing quite a bit of research and talking to some friends of mine who I consider kind of experts in the field. Hi Todd! Several of my friends have had drones, and way back when they were even building them themselves, they were building them out of balsa wood and zip ties and duct tape and electrical tape, and ordering sensors and cameras and GPS sensors and all kinds of stuff from various places and building them literally themselves to fly around. And DJI kind of came to the market a few years ago and revolutionized what I consider the drone industry, for lack of a better term. Their drones are durable, they're easy to fly, they have a ton of features and things of that nature. So Mrs. Speedy had been pushing me to get one for a little while, believe it or not. When your wife wants you to go out and buy a new tool, who's gonna say no to that, right? So I started looking at the Mavic Pro, and then I saw they came out with the Mavic Pro Platinum, I think they called it. And I kind of held off. There was a sweet spot that I was personally waiting for, and I wanted at least a 30-minute flight time. I wanted at least a 1080p video camera, as well as pictures that could do 16:9 format. I wanted the ability for it to subject track, so I could highlight a subject and it chase that subject and do that effectively. And I wanted the ability for it to be very, very easy to use. I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out how to fly the thing and spend more time repairing it than I am flying it. I have friends who've had remote control planes and remote control helicopters and all that kind of stuff, and they crashed them every time they flew them. I mean, one little thing goes wrong and the thing's broken, and they're waiting a couple of weeks to get parts in, put it back together, and then they get to go fly it again. So this seemed to fit the bill. I asked a bunch of people, like I said, and this is the one we went with. It's the Mavic 2 Zoom. Now, to go with it, we also got some accessories. I went with their Fly More kit, which everyone said I should get. It comes with extra blades, I guess, for lack of a better term, or props, I guess you would call them, propellers. 2 extra batteries, which is very important if you want to go out and have a good time with it. Even though they last 30 minutes, that 30 minutes can go over pretty quickly. It comes with a base to do multiple charging, so you can plug that in and charge 4 batteries. It does them in series, not in parallel, so keep that in mind. They'll start with the lowest charged one and then move on so it doesn't one at a time. Comes with a very nice bag. Comes with an adapter that actually has 2 USB connections on it, so you can connect that to your battery as well as a car charger. And I have found the car charger to be extremely fast at charging the batteries. I charged one on the way home from work after goofing off with it one day, and it was extremely quick. And then finally, I picked up a little mount. You can use your cell phone, but it's a tiny screen, usually 4 inches, 5 inches or whatever. I've got a tablet, and so I picked up a tablet mount, and this will hold up to, I think, a 10-inch, maybe 8-inch tablet. I have to look. I think it's a 10-inch. And it was reasonably priced, made of aluminum, super nice. Holds it up on a little pedestal and makes it easier to see. There's a lot going on the screen, as you'll see. So I got one of those to go with it. So that's the kit that I picked up to do our drone adventure. Now, there are a ton of videos out there showing you how to unbox the thing. I guess, some people like to see someone take a new thing out of a box and take the plastic off of it and all that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna show you what's in the box. And this will be from the perspective of a brand new drone owner. I have never owned a drone before in my life. I've probably flown one literally twice for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Know almost nothing about them other than the research I did before I bought this one. And so everything I've been able to do with this is from someone brand new to a drone, and that speaks volumes to how good this thing actually is. And through the magic of YouTube, we've got everything unboxed and on the table here. This is what comes with the drone if you just buy it. You get the drone itself, 1 battery, some extra blades, extra thumb controls, which I thought was a good touch because you could lose those. Adapter cables, plug-in adapter to go from USB-C to USB, whatever it is, the smaller micro USB. Another USB cable, the charger, which plugs into a battery individually, but it also has a USB port on it to charge things. And a lot of people I saw got confused about this, but the charger actually, it's well designed. It's a well-designed unit. The whole thing is, but you basically pull that out. This charges your battery. This charges your remote. So it's a micro USB, charges the remote up. The remote obviously comes with it, and then your power adapter for your charger. Now, the remote control itself, the controls will actually come off, and you can store them when you flip it open inside where the handles fold up. So it makes it very compact, easy for travel. which I thought was cool. And when you have it folded out, your cable for your, whatever your display plugs in here, and then your display, if it's a phone, for example, I'll show you mine. So it fits in like that, and you can fly with that. Now I decided to go with a tablet adapter to have a bigger screen, because as you can see, that'd be pretty small, but it'll work. And you can technically fly it with just this screen, but all you get is like an LED readout, LCD readout. It's you don't get a whole lot of information. When you use a display, you see what the drone sees, which is nice. And then the drone itself comes with a screen or a protective cover for the camera. This is redesigned on this version. The old version, the Mavic Pro, it was 2 pieces. People have complained about this, but I think it's super easy to install. I mean, that's all there is to it. You just find the 2 little clasps. Once you slide it over the gimbal, that's what that's called. The gimbal means it holds the camera nice and stable, and it snaps right in place to protect it. And the drone folds up nice and compact. And then to unfold it, you basically fling the arms out. And that's what it looks like when it's ready to fly. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. So all in all, it's a very well designed product. Now, I did pick this up as an accessory as I described. This did not come with anything on the table. This was bought separately. And the way it works is it basically goes where your phone would go. And now your tablet can mount here. And you got a much bigger screen. You can still fly the drone. You got a nice tablet up here as your viewing device. So I like that. Now, the Fly More kit, there's your nice bag. It's all felt lined to keep everything safe. This is your charging base, which opens up. You can plug 4 batteries in, but it does charge them in series, as I mentioned before. So it doesn't charge them all at once. It'll charge 1 battery, then go on to the next, then go on to the next. Extra blades, in case you need those. The 2 batteries, which were critical. More extra blades. And then it came with a car charger, and the car charger will plug into this. So the base has a plug receptacle on it. Now it's plugged in. So now you can actually charge your batteries in the car if you wanted to. And then the adapter I described previously plugs into, let's see, it goes this way. Plugs into your battery. And now you've got 2 USB ports. You can charge accessories from one of the batteries if you wanted to. So those are kind of critical items. I think everything on the table, including this screen holder, is probably what you're going to want to get if you decide to go this route. Now, that does mean you have to have a tablet. So if you don't have one, look around for one that's cheap. But what I have learned is you've got to have one with a good processor in it. I had a tablet that was a quad-core Intel something. It was an 8-inch tablet, 1.3 gigahertz processors, 4 of them, quad-core. And it struggled a little bit. Now it was usable and just fine, but it wasn't as snappy as like your phone is. If you got used to your phone, everything's real quick. You would click the menu buttons and things like that, and it would be a little bit slow. So think about if you're about to buy a tablet and you're thinking about getting a drone, buy a tablet with a octa-core, which means 8-core processor, and you'll be good to go. Now one thing I'll mention on the drone, the Mavic 2 comes in 2 flavors. You get the Mavic 2 Zoom, which is the one I chose, and it's because the lens will actually zoom. I think it's a 24 to 48 millimeter, which is pretty nice, and that's real zoom. And then you have a 2x, or let's call it 4x, digital zoom. And then you have another version of it, which is the Mavic 2 Pro, and it comes with a Hasselblad lens that's a 1-inch sensor. And to some people that's important. To me, it wasn't, because I'm gonna be using this thing for action shots, and the zoom was much more important to me than the actual sensor itself. The Hasselblad's supposed to be a more cinematic sensor, give you a little bit better color quality, a little better low light. But I looked at a bunch of side-by-side comparisons, and honestly, I couldn't tell much of a difference in the videos that I saw, and the zoom was much more important to me. So that's the one I went with, and I've been happy with it thus far. And one last thing to keep in mind, and I'm telling you this from learning experience, if you decide to use some kind of tablet mount, you'll need to think about a cable, because the cables that come with the remote control are designed to work with phones, I think, that plug directly in here. And so your cable comes around the side here, and then the port would go here to plug into your phone where the adapter is now. With a tablet, it's mounted a little bit higher, and so those factory cables or the included cables won't reach. And so luckily I had a couple of these on hand. You've got a regular USB port on the bottom of the controller that'll work, as well as the micro USB on the side. So you'll just need a cable that's designed for your phone, whether it be micro or USB-C. So I had both of these, either one will work with my tablet. And this is the tablet I'm going to use. So as you can see, you got a much bigger screen. I'm going to show you that next. Okay, and to get the party started, here's the power button. It's one push and then a push and hold. And then we're going to do the same thing on the battery of the drone. One push, another one. See some status LEDs and you hear it queue up. We got our tablet here, and if you had your phone it'd be the same deal. There's an app called DJI Go 4, and I've got it set to auto launch when it detects the controller. And so as you can see, it fires up the app. You just click Go Fly, and it always does a firmware update to make sure you have the latest firmware. And then it's kind of your pre-flight checklist is the first menu that you see. Tells you some things about compass and flight mode that you're in, things of that nature, interference, anything you need to worry about there. You can just click the X to close that. And like I said, you can see there's a whole lot going on the screen. That's why you probably want to use something a little bit bigger than a phone as your display device. But that's how easy it is. Now we can go fly. And the other thing to be aware of is that this is an FAA regulated device. So when you start flying it around, you have to be careful around airports. It has geofencing, which means it actually uses a map, a geography map, and GPS to know how close you are to an airport. And if you're within a 5-mile ring of like a major airport, it actually won't even let you take off. And so that was one of the things I checked before I even bought it. I wanted to make sure that we could fly it around our home without interfering with any type of FAA regulation. There is an airport that's reasonably close by, but it is a smaller airport, a Class E, I think is what they call it. And there's a test you can take and go get certified on these things, and then you can actually use them to make money. You can go fly and charge people money to take pictures of their weddings or whatever else you want to do. And so you want to be really careful about that. Good Lord. And we have a visitor in the shop. There she is.
Time to work.
The famous Miss Speedy, banging and clanging when I'm trying to make video.
Just like this.
Banging and clanging, messing up my sounds. But be aware that it is a regulated device, and they're kind of getting more serious about it. So when you start getting into this stuff, make sure that you know where you live and what you're allowed to do. Okay, so when you first start, you have a lot of options in the menus, and I'm not going to go over them all. Like I said, there's tons of videos on how to use this thing, and I am not the person to show you how to do it. But there's like beginner mode, it limits how far away it can go. There's settings on how to record the video. Let's see, I want to show you these are important. So you have sport, you have positioning, and you have tripod. In sport, all of your obstacle avoidance is turned off. In positioning, you get front and rear obstacle avoidance. And in tripod, it's a 360-degree bubble of obstacle avoidance, so that's important. Your return to home altitude is also important. I've got this one set to 30 meters because there's no trees around my house that are higher than basically 100 feet. If you're out somewhere that's higher than that, you might want to double that. I'm probably at some point when I start going out to various locations, I'm going to make that twice as high and make it 200 meters. And that means basically if I lose the drone or need it to come back or it runs out of battery or whatever, it's intelligent enough to come straight back to where it took off. And that's another important thing we probably want to talk about. You got home point settings. This is probably the most important. That button right there, it tells that the home point will be set to the aircraft's current position. When returning to home is initiated, it will return to this point at minimum altitude and then according to your settings. So if you make it higher than that, it'll be higher, obviously. You have to say okay. The other thing you can do, you can click this one, and it says weak mobile device GPS signal cannot acquire location. If we were outside and we could get a GPS signal, the home point will be set to wherever the controller is. So if you're driving around, like I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff with the car, and we take off in one parking lot and drive somewhere and stop in another parking lot, and I lose track of the drone, if I tell it to go home, it'll go back to the other parking lot, then I'll have to go back and get it. If I have it set to come where the controller is, it will come to wherever I am and then come down, and I think it's set to hover at like 6 feet off the ground by default, but you can also change that and tell it to land, I think. I'm still figuring a lot of this out, by the way. Maximum altitude, that's also important. It's set to 120 meters right now, which is your FAA regulation. I think 400 feet is the limit. You can make that higher. So if you're way away from an airport and you want to see how high it can go, you can set that. It says up to 500 meters, which is pretty far. Distance limit, You can turn that on, and that determines how far away it can go from you. Maximum flight distance. Those are all things you want to take a look at. Then advanced settings, it's got some exposure stuff for the camera, sensor rates, brake gain, and all that kind of stuff. So how it brakes when you're actually slowing down and things like that. You can set what it does when it loses the signal from the remote. I've got it set to return to home, so if it runs out of battery, or it thinks it's going to run out of battery before it gets back, it'll return to home. Or if it loses connectivity with the remote, it'll also return to home. So some pretty cool stuff there. Here's some of the radar settings. I won't go through a bunch of that, boring stuff. You can reprogram the buttons on the remote. You tell it what kind of transmission rate you want. Now, your display device on the new Mavic 2, it can actually display in 1080p. So what you see will be in HD. Gives you battery status and things of that nature. And then there's some gimbal settings. So just some general stuff. Like I said, tons of videos on YouTube on how to set all of this up. I barely know myself, so I'm not going to go through it all. I just want to go out and fly it and start having some fun. And when you're done kind of messing around, it's a little bit weird. It took me a minute to figure out how to get out of the app. So you have to hit the DJI icon at the top. That'll take you back to the home screen, and then you hit the exit or back button, and then a back button again to exit that. So hopefully that helps somebody. Whoops, so I didn't do it fast enough. 1, 2. So hopefully that helps somebody, because I had to figure that out. All right, so now we're going to take it for a flight, and I'll show you some of the features of like the obstacle avoidance and all of that. Like we said, you want to push that twice, fire up. Okay, so it has like an automatic takeoff, which is nice. So you just push a button on the screen and you slide a slider. And it will start and it'll just hover. And it sets the home point all at the same time. You can move it. If you let go of the joysticks, the drone just freezes right where it's at, which is nice. It uses GPS and other sensors. And it has a kind of a safety when you start to land it. It comes down, when it gets about 6 feet, it slows down. And that's as low as it'll go without actually landing. So it's not letting me go any farther. Now the biggest thing you're going to get comfortable with, when these things kind of fly out of sight, you just have to trust that it'll come back. You've got to get used to watching it through the display rather than watching the drone, because once it's out of sight, you won't be able to see it anymore, obviously. So we're going to go up. We're going to hit about 100, maybe 200 feet. Take it to 200. There it goes. So now it's pretty much out of sight. We're just going to go up towards the front of our subdivision. Well, everybody has a pool. And now we've got a map on the display. You can actually see where it is. And it gives you kind of a Google Map reference point. And so all we would really have to do is just follow it straight back. So the arrow is the drone, the dot is where we are. It's loading up a Google map. So technically we can just turn it. And you can see it turning there. And just bring it straight back to where we are. Or, even easier, we can do a return to home. And that's a button here where the H is. We're just going to click that. And it should just start coming back. Here it comes. So let's see. So we can't see it. It's almost here though. I can hear it. We got it set to come back at 100 feet. There it is. So that's pretty nice if you think you've lost your drone. And also, if like I said before, if it loses contact with the radio control, it'll do the same thing. It'll just come back home. There you go. And now I'll show you a little bit of the obstacle avoidance. So we're going to take back off again. See, it won't let me. If I go backwards, I try to do it fast. So back a little bit farther. Because it actually slows down the closer it gets to an object. So they're pretty easy to fly these days. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And since this is a little bit new, I've only flown the thing 3 or 4 times. I'm still figuring all the special features out. We're going to head over to kind of a closed off area. It's a weekend, and there's an industrial park not too far away, which I think will make a really nice spot for us to test out some of the subject tracking features. We're going to see if this Mavic 2 Zoom can keep up with the Hellcat. Okay, so now we've got active track enabled. We're going to see how she does. I've got the drone at a height of about 50 feet to clear any trees or light poles or anything over here. We're going to start just testing it by driving around the parking lot, and then we'll go back in this little industrial area. We're doing about 15 miles an hour and it's having no problems so far. Shots look really good actually. It's kind of an interesting perspective. That's what's cool about drones. You get an interesting perspective on the world. Line back up, we're going to try again. This is the reason I came over here to kind of a isolated place. You really should have another pilot in the car with you if you're going to be driving, but I'm not going to go very fast and I'm off in a very isolated area, so I think as long as it doesn't lose track of you, I'm doing about 25 miles an hour now, and it's doing fine. And I think as long as you're not traveling too fast and it doesn't lose track of you behind a tree or something, I think it will do okay. So I'm doing 30 miles an hour now, and it seems to be keeping up okay, no problem. It uses a predictive, I think I lost it behind the trees again, yep. So if I go behind trees, it kind of freaks out. Okay, we're going to try one more time with it a little bit higher up. We've had really good luck with it in parking lots, but when we got on the road, I think we might have had it too low. So we're going to try again. All right, let's see how we do. Miles an hour, I guess. It's tracking along pretty good. That's pretty cool. Get quite a bit of use out of. I want to think of it more as a tool than a toy. It is fun to fly, but I actually got it to give a different perspective on some of the videos that I produce. I've got to learn how to use it quite a bit better, so over the next weeks and months, I'm going to try to get very proficient with this thing, and so that we can do some very nice videos, hopefully at the drag strip. Obviously, we'll have to ask the track owners and get permission for where it can be and all that, because you don't want this thing falling out of the sky and you know, causing any kind of incident or damaging a car or anything like that. But hopefully with the zoom feature and some of the tracking functions that you saw that it has, we can get it back far enough away from the track, zoom in and just let it follow some cars down the track. That's what I intend to use it a lot for. Again, a little bit different kind of video, not directly car related, but kinda. So let me know what you thought. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Check us out on Instagram. It's @Speedys_garage. Also check out our website, www.speedysgarage.net. And be sure to tune in next week if you've missed some of the direct car how-to, because we'll be back on that next week. See you then.